Hello everybody. Well, I have been filleting fish all summer. I started out not knowing how, basically. I mean, I know the principle, but not doing much of it. And over the summer, I feel like I've gotten a little bit good at it, but I'm still not fast. I'm sure there are tons of faster people, but I thought it would be a good thing to do to show you how I fillet a fish. First thing I'll do, of course, is to make sure my knife is sharp, and I touch it to my thumbnail, and if it catches, then it's sharp. If it slides on past, it's not sharp enough. And I especially want the tip of my knife to be sharp, because that's where I use it a lot. So we caught this fish this morning. I weighed it, and it weighs a little bit more than 3 1/4 pounds, which is pretty nice, and I think it's the nicest one we've caught so far on the jug line. The first thing I'm going to do is first I'll tell you that we have whacked this guy in the head and killed him that way, so I'm not filleting a live fish. And even if you do ever see him jump, I think it's just muscle reaction. And so I'm going to locate this bone that protrudes right here at the bottom of the mouth and above that fin, and I'm going to cut behind it and angle up toward the center behind the head. I'm going to do that on both sides. And then I'm going to go down each side of the spine and just with the tip of my knife make cuts down each side of the spine. When you get back to this fin right here, there's a little plate underneath there that I have to go around. So I go around and underneath each side of that plate. And then from there, I just cut right down the middle. When I get to this fin down here, what I do is just cut that little meaty, fin off. So make a slice right down the middle. I used to do this on a cutting board, but I figured out that when I do that, I have to wash both the cutting board and the counter. So I decided I'm not cutting on the counter. I might as well just do the fish on the counter, because it saves me a little bit of time. When I have it cut down the center back, then I go in back up to the head area and cut deeper. And reach the bones down in there. And then I will slice along each side of the bones. Sometimes I will turn it like this, put my knife in there and kind of slice up like that. Then I'll just continue making little slices down along the bone, because one thing I want to be careful about is to not leave meat on the carcass. I want to get all of it in the fillet if I can. Up here at the head, kind of the tenderloin area, there's a pretty good amount of meat there. So I want to make sure I save that part. But then after I get past that and down to the ribs, there's not much meat involved with the ribs. It's not worth trying to cut anything off of there to me. So I'll just cut that right there. And then down along the ribs, I'll cut the skin and not try to get the meat off of the ribs in that area. But when you get past the ribs, you get down to the belly area, and you want to be careful, not necessarily cut into the belly, but don't leave too much meat behind. At this point, I might turn the fish over and cut along the ribs down behind this fin where I'm getting past the belly but down to the main spine. I'll lay my knife flat, and this is where the main filleting part comes in. Let that knife slide right down along the spine till you reach the tail, but don't cut into the skin, don't cut through the skin of the tail. And then I lay it down at the base, making sure to try not to cut through the skin. I make sure I grab that nicely with my fingers, and then with a sawing motion, separate the skin and the meat. Now if you cut into the meat and leaves parted on the skin, you can back up and start over. Your fillet's not going to be perfect, but you don't want to leave meat behind on the skin. And you end up with a nice fillet right there. Now I do the same thing on the other side, so I won't show you that, but I will show you that I save the belly meat. And to do that, I cut through right in front of these double fins right here, because there's a big hard plate in there too. And then I cut the belly open up against the bottom of the ribs, because there's quite a bit of meat. See how much meat is right in there? There's quite a bit of meat on the belly. So I just cut the belly out. The meat gets a little thinner up in the as you get to the throat, but you can still save some there. And I will just cut that out right around through there. The belly has skin on both sides. This inside skin is thinner than the outside skin, but I try to take both sides off. So what you have to do on that is to catch it with your fingernail and try to get your knife in there between the skin and the meat, and with your sawing motion start cutting through there with your knife laid flat. And when I get to the center, then I flip it over and cut the inside skin off by doing the same way. And you end up with a pretty good amount of little piece of meat there. And repeat on the other side. Okay. Now I just have to do the other fillet, and I'm done. I've got a good amount of fillets here. I've left a minimal amount of meat on the bone, and this right here that you see is why the cats follow us around when we're fishing, come out and greet us at the dock when we're coming back, because if they know that if we have a fish, this is what they're going to get, and they live to get a fish carcass. So thanks for joining me. I hope you might at least find it interesting. I don't know how instructional it is, but there it is. This is how I fillet a fish.